I'm broken. I'm a man that's been shaped by experiences that I've been through, the battles that I've waged, through the joys that I've encountered. I've been shaped by my friends, I've been shaped by my family, I've been shaped by my wins and my losses, my triumphs and my failures. You know, when I started to think about coming to speak with you guys tonight, I gotta tell you, I got apprehensive. I got waves of doubt, because my first inclination was, why does anybody care about my story? Why is anybody gonna sit for less than 18 minutes and listen to me drone on and on about my story? But you know, over time, I kept sharing my story with friends and with family, and eventually they said, Adam, you've got to share your story with anyone. Please, someone else, go. So, but you know, the fact is, everybody has a story. And if you don't listen to anything else I say tonight, if you just totally zone out and shut me down, just please hear me say that you have a story. However insignificant you may think it is, it could be incredibly significant to someone else. So, anyways, on to my story. I was born here in Charlotte in 1980. I think I'm one of 5 or 6 natives that are left. Most everyone else is, oh, look at that, they're all here. I moved away to go to NC State for college, came right back. Exactly, thank you. I've been married to my wife Amanda for about 7 years. We've got a 3-year-old little boy, Liam. He's at home. And then the white dog that's been following me around all night is my service dog, Finn. He's obviously working hard at the moment. In about 1994, I was diagnosed with my first chronic illness, ulcerative colitis. Since then, I've been diagnosed with around 7 more. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, autonomic dysfunction, hypertension, supraventricular tachycardia, fibromyalgia, scoliosis, vagal nerve dysfunction. I don't know if that's 7, I've lost count, and you kind of get the point. So the most recent diagnosis happened, plus or minus, about a month ago. So they seem to kind of keep showing up fairly often for me. None of them are curable. We can treat them, we can battle the symptoms, we can hope to make me feel a little bit better the next day. So yeah, I'm broken. But you know what's crazy? I'm totally okay with it. I've accepted my brokenness. I've accepted who God decided He wanted me to be. And I want to clue you guys in on a little something. This is a big secret, but I'm going to let you guys in on it. You're broken too. No, not like you, buddy. Maybe not. But that's kind of the point. The point is that we're not all broken the same way. The point is that no one's is better or worse than anyone else's. It's just different. It doesn't make me better or worse than anyone else. And so the other sort of truth that I had to come to grips with is the fact that I am disabled. But guess what else? So are you. What? I don't get good parking. I know. But you may not have a physical disability like I do, but you do have one that's maybe mental or emotional or spiritual. Okay? You may not have thought about them in a while. Maybe you have commitment issues. Maybe you have trouble choosing the wrong mate. Maybe you have trouble with certain circumstances. Maybe you were one of our brave soldiers that went overseas and came back with PTSD. All of those things are brokenness. All of those things are disabilities. So you're thinking, what a bummer, right? I know. But the fact is that each one of you is very intentionally broken. It is for a greater purpose than perhaps you may understand. And think about it, we get up every day and we put on a facade, we put on a mask, trying to cover the cracks of our brokenness from the world around us. Because, you know, to be honest, a lot of us don't want to see them ourselves, and we sure don't want the rest of the world to see it. But I can assure you that coming to grips with the simple fact that you yourself are broken can provide to you some of the greatest freedom that you can ever imagine. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thought I was speaking loud enough. You know, in the Bible, Paul writes his letter to Corinth, and in the letter he talks about how he was blessed with a thorn in his side. Now, he didn't go into any more detail. We just know that he had a thorn. It's kind of cool to know Paul was broken too. You know, again, he doesn't tell us what it is, and even goes to God multiple times and says, God, please take this from my side. But God would rather Paul rely on him. Now, look, I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I know what your thorn is. I'm not going to pretend that I know your struggle or your heartache or your illness or your battle. Okay? That's yours. And I have mine. And yours is no worse or no better than mine. Just like yours is different from yours, which is different from yours, which is different from yours. It's not the fact that it's better or worse. It's the fact that it's there. And accepting the simple fact of our brokenness. And yeah, it sucks. That's the truth. The scriptures, though, also go on to tell us that there are benefits that come with our brokenness. You know, after Paul goes to God and says, take this thorn from me, God comes back and says, dude, my grace is sufficient. My grace is enough for you. If we flip over to the book of James, James says, blessed is he who goes through many trials, because we get to gain things like strength and perseverance and greater faith. Now look, I'll be honest, I have really bad days. Okay, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, one of my conditions, is a connective tissue disorder. It makes everything really loose. When I wake up most mornings, my shoulders and hips are out of socket. I have to pop them back in before I can stand up. Okay, some days I have to use crutches. Some days I might need a cane. Some days I might need a wheelchair. It's just my life. It's just the reality of it. But you know, it's funny. About the time I got my third or fourth diagnosis, I realized that every time I got a new diagnosis, I would just hit the pit of despair. I would just fall onto the ground and I would just bang the floor, and it was the worst day of my life. And I realized that bad days don't do anybody any good. And least of all, they didn't do me any good. So I kind of came to the conclusion that instead of allowing these things to drag me into the depths and me to drag my loved ones with me, I decided I would set a limit on my bad days. I give myself 24 hours. Now, 24 hours, I let myself throw the biggest fit you've ever seen. I break stuff, I'm rude, I'm mean. I have what I like to call a weep-a-thon for that 24 hours. But at the end of that day, it's time to move forward. It's not doing me any good anymore. I'm not benefiting me. I deserve better than that. My family and friends deserve better than that. My God deserves more of me than that. You know, and some of you know what it feels like to be in the depths, laying in that pit. But I found that the longer that you lay in that pit, the more likely you are to find reasons not to climb out. You've got to stand up and brush yourself off and just say, I got to take a single step. And sometimes that's really all it takes. Sometimes it's about just getting out of the starting gates, getting that momentum to start you forward. How often have we stood right at that edge, unwilling to take that first step because we're so scared of what the next one might be? But then after we take that first step, we realize, all right, this is all right. We take the next, and we build momentum, and we gain strength towards the greater person that we can become, the greater person that God has put us here to be. You know, because the way I figure it, he put us here to make a difference, to matter. So then I kind of started to think about this idea, and I kind of built it on a global perspective. So follow me here. This sounds a little crazy, but follow me. So we live in a world that we constantly desire equality and unity, right? Yet we constantly segregate ourselves. We constantly look for things in other people to place distance between us and them, not letting them get too close, not letting them love us too much, because we get scared of that for some reason. But the reality is, as soon as you're willing to accept the fact that you're broken, and then you can show someone else that same truth, that's unity. That's equality. Now look, I know it sounds sort of macabre, but think about it this way. The grace and mercy that God gives us When we accept the fact that we're broken is a gift that we have the ability to then turn and share with a broken and hurting world. It's a gift that he has given to us through the acceptance of ourselves. Wish I had some Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I can tell you this, so look, when you accept the fact that you're broken and you accept the fact that you have a disability, it can create initially some of the most isolating and lonely feelings that you could ever possibly imagine. It makes you feel like nobody knows what you're going through. No one understands me. No one knows what I'm going through because they haven't been in my shoes. And you're absolutely right about that. But the reality is you haven't been in theirs. Okay? Your brokenness doesn't compare to someone else's brokenness. At the end of the day, what it's all about is recognizing the fact that you are. So, let me plead with you. Stop denying your own brokenness. Accept it. Just be willing to say, look, I've got scars and I've got bruises, but instead of finding the things to cover them up, I'm going to wear them proudly. Because the reality is you've earned them. They're gifts. They're blessings bestowed upon you by a living and breathing God. And he doesn't do it to destroy you. He doesn't do it to hurt you. He does it to build you and allow you the opportunity to touch lives. You kind of have to be willing to say, I'm not willing to accept the condemnation and judgment of the world anymore, because this is who I am. You don't have to apologize or hide from anything any longer. It's sort of time to be true to self and therefore true to him. And think about it this way too. The more broken that things are, the greater care that they need. So I recognized that I had to stop comparing myself to the world's ideals. I had to recognize the fact that God set his standard for me when he created me. He didn't create all of you for me to compare myself to you. He created me so I could compare it to me. And so when I finally came to these conclusions, I recognized that I had to learn to love this me. But then I realized, well, God's loved me all along. Now it's just my turn to step up to the plate and love myself 1/10 of the way he feels for me. And then take that love and turn it into the hope and the truth that the world really and desperately needs. You know, I think about that thorn, right? But God made us roses. We don't fade and we don't wither because we have him to keep us growing. But you know, the thing I've kind of taken for granted through this whole talk here is that you guys have all accepted God's love. Because really, that's where it starts. You know, the love of God has the ability to heal any disability that you do. And then you say, Adam, you're still sick. Well, yeah, but my mind and my spirit and my will are all incredibly strong through the healing of God. I'm able to get up each day being confident in God's grace and God's mercy for my life. And I know that the fights that I'm fighting are not in vain. They are for the good of his kingdom. And I also know that I never have to fight alone. So a broken life lived without love and the grace of Jesus is a life that I don't want to know about. You know, but living broken for the sake of spreading God's word, yeah, I can get behind that. It sounds good to me. Guys, you're broken. And so am I. And it doesn't matter. You are made perfectly in the image of God. Tell your story. Show your scars. Shine your light. Spread the hope that it brings so greatly within you. If you think about it, it's what a broken and hurting world really needs. Thanks.